Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice. Here we are going to take up the MCQs based on today's newspaper of The Hindu and Indian Express, which are important from UPSC Prelims exam perspective. The topics for today's discussion are listed on your screen. So let us start the discussion. The first question of today's discussion is based on this news article which has appeared on page number 12 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the Vibrant Villages program, which is a flagship initiative by Government of India to strengthen and enhance the basic infrastructure in the villages along the international border. Such flagship initiatives are important for our UPSC Prelims exam, and UPSC has previously asked many questions on government schemes and the initiatives of union government which plays an important role for the welfare of people. In the year 2017, UPSC has asked that what is the aim of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan? In this question, you are being given 4 statements and you need to identify the correct one. You can pause this video and try a hand on this. Now the practice MCQ says that with reference to Vibrant Villages program, consider the following statements. The first statement says the scheme will provide funds for development of essential infrastructure and creation of livelihood opportunities in districts along the northern land border of the country. It is a correct statement as the Vibrant Villages program will focus on developing the essential infrastructure along the northern border of the country, and it includes 4 states and 1 union territory. The 4 states are Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, and the union territory of Ladakh. So this statement becomes correct. Try to remember these 4 states and a union territory which is Ladakh. The second statement says it is a centrally sponsored scheme that will subsume Border Area Development Program. Now this statement is incorrect as Vibrant Villages program will not overlap with the existing Border Area Development Program, although both are focusing in improving the quality of life of people living in the border villages. The third statement says Vibrant Village Action Plans will be created by district administration with the help of Gram Panchayats. It is a correct statement as the village action plans will be created with the help of Gram Panchayats, and it will promote inclusive governance in the border villages. As you need to identify which of the following statements is or are correct, the answer to this question becomes C, which is 1 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is B, as the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan focuses on connecting the institutions of higher education with the local communities to address their needs and development challenges. Now moving on to the next question of the day, which is based on this particular news, which has appeared on page number 17 in Indian Express. The context of this news is that the government has recently appointed the ex-RBI official Deepak Mohanty as a PFRDA chairman. The context of this news is not very important from our UPSC Prelims exam perspective, but it is a government body and it plays an important role. And it plays an important role in the pension management of the government employees. So this area becomes important for our discussion. You must be aware that nowadays pension has become a hot topic and it has become a point of tussle between the center and state governments. So we must be aware about the nitty-gritties associated with this particular organization. As you can see, in the year 2017, UPSC has specifically asked about who among the following can join the national pension system. In this question, you have to identify the correct option. You can pause this video and solve this MCQ by applying your common sense. Now moving on to the practice MCQ, which says that with reference to Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, consider the following statements. The first statement says it is a non-statutory regulatory body set up with an objective to promote old age income security by establishing, developing and regulating pension funds. It is an incorrect statement as Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority is a statutory body and it was established by the Act of Parliament in the year 2013 to regulate the pension system in the country. So this statement becomes incorrect. The second statement says it regulates the national pension system subscribed by central government employees only. It is again an incorrect statement. PFRDA is regulating the national pension system which is subscribed by the employees of Government of India, state governments and by employees of private institutions, organizations and unorganized sector. So this statement becomes incorrect. The third statement says the contributions under Atal Pension Yojana are invested as per the investment guidelines prescribed by PFRDA. This statement is correct as PFRDA prescribes the guidelines to invest the funds for the Atal Pension Yojana. and we need to identify the correct statements, the answer to this question becomes B, which is 3 only. Now the answer to the previous year question is C. Let us suppose you do not have any idea about this particular system. Then how to solve this question? We'll try to use common sense to arrive at correct answer. Option D says all central government employees, including the armed forces. Now you must be aware that there are different provisions for the armed forces regarding their pensions, salaries and other facilities. So it should not be including the armed forces, making this option incorrect. The second option says persons of age from 21 to 55 only. As you all know, a person who is more than 18 years of age can start working with a private organization. So this statement also becomes incorrect. And the first statement says resident Indian citizens only. If you have any piece of information regarding the government guidelines that this system has been extended to NRIs also, you must mark this option incorrect. So we are left with only one option, and that is the option C, which says all state government employees joining the services after the date of notification by the respective state governments. It is also making sense, and it is the correct answer for this question. Try to develop such kind of thought process while solving the MCQs. It will help you in enhancing your score in UPSC Prelims exam. Moving on to the next question, which is based on this news which has appeared on page number 14 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the PM MITRA scheme, which is a scheme for promotion of textile industry, and this article says that the states which are identified for the PM textile scheme to be named soon. As government schemes is a recurring theme in the UPSC Prelims exam, we must be aware about the key aspects of PM MITRA scheme. UPSC has previously asked many questions on government schemes, and one of them was asked in 2016 regarding Stand Up India scheme. In this question, you are being given two statements and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. The practice MCQ says that consider the following statements with reference to PM MITRA scheme. The first statement says central government will provide capital support for at least 50% of the project cost in greenfield and brownfield parks. It is an incorrect statement, as the provision of capital support will be up to 30% and not the 50% of the cost. So this statement becomes incorrect. Always try to look for such trap statements, as UPSC has habit of playing with the numbers and the ministries associated with the schemes. Keep this thing in mind while solving the MCQs. The second statement says the scheme envisages to leverage the public-private partnership model for its fast-paced implementation. Now it looks very generic statement, and it is a correct statement, as the PM MITRA scheme was launched in 2021 to strengthen the Indian textile industry, and it will also leverage the PPP model for its implementation, and it is an initiative of Ministry of Textiles. So the answer to this question becomes B, which is 2 only. Now the answer to the previous year question is C, as both the statements are correct. The Stand Up India scheme was launched to promote the entrepreneurship among the SC/STs and women, and there is also a provision of refinance through SIDB. So this statement is also correct. The next question of today's discussion is based on this particular news which has appeared on page number 1 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the recent move of Bar Council of India, which says that the foreign lawyers, law firms can practice in a selected fields in India, and it also says that they cannot appear before the courts and tribunals, but they can do a transactional or corporate work on a reciprocity basis. As Bar Council of India is an important organization in the legal landscape, this area becomes important for our discussion, and we must be aware about the provisions which are associated with the Bar Council of India. And in the year 2020, UPSC has asked a similar type of question, and in this question, you are being given two statements which are associated with advocates and law colleges. You can pause this video and try a hand on this. The practice MCQ which we have framed says that consider the following statements with reference to Bar Council of India. In this question, you are being given 4 statements and you need to identify which of the following are correct. The first statement says Bar Council of India is a statutory body constituted under Advocates Act 1961. It is a correct statement, as it is a statutory body and it performs regulatory functions by prescribing the standards of professional conduct, etiquette, and by exercising disciplinary jurisdiction over the bar. So, this statement is correct. The second statement says BCI sets standards for legal education and grants recognition to universities whose degrees in law will serve as qualification for enrollment as an advocate. It is also a correct statement. Bar Council of India sets the standards for legal education in the country. And in addition to that, it also performs representative functions by protecting the rights, privileges, and interests of advocates. So, this statement is correct. The third statement says the Attorney General of India and the Solicitor General of India are the ex officio members of BCI. It is a correct statement as both of them are the ex officio members of Bar Council of India. Do remember this fact as it can appear directly or indirectly in the UPSC Prelims exam under Polity section. The last statement says Bar Council of India has allowed foreign law firms and foreign lawyers to register as an advocate under the Advocates Act 1961 so as to appear before the courts or tribunals in India. As we have already discussed in the description that they will not be allowed to appear before the courts or tribunals in India. So this statement is incorrect. And we need to identify the correct statements. The answer to this question becomes C, which is 1, 2 and 3 only. And the answer to the previous year question is B, which is 2 only. As the first statement says, government law officers and legal firms are recognized as advocates, but corporate lawyers and patent attorneys are excluded from recognition as advocates. It is an incorrect statement, and most of the times UPSC frames such statements. One thing is allowed and other is not. So, such statements are trap statements and you must be careful while solving such questions. The second statement says bar councils have power to lay down the rules regulating to legal education and recognition of law colleges. It is a factual statement and a correct one. So, the answer to this question becomes B. Now moving on to the next question of today's discussion, which is based on this news and it has appeared on page number 15 in Indian Express. The headline of this news says that banks that are too big to fail, and it has came into light after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank in the United States, which has raised questions about the safety of deposits. In India also, there are certain banks which are deemed as domestic systematically important banks, and they are being classified by RBI as the banks which are too big to fail. As banking is an important theme in the UPSC Prelims exam under economy section, so we must be aware about the domestic systematically important banks. And in the year 2018, UPSC has asked about the capital adequacy ratio, and in this question you are being given two statements and you need to identify which of the following is or are correct. The practice MCQ in this regard says that with reference to domestic systematically important banks, which of the following statements is or are correct. The first statement says banks having a size beyond 3% of GDP will be selected in the sample of banks to be assessed. It is an incorrect statement as the banks which has the size as a percentage of GDP equal to or more than 2% will be selected in the sample of banks to be assessed. So it is 2% of GDP and not the 3%. The second statement says banks are assessed on 4 indicators such as interconnectedness, size, substitutability and complexity. It is a correct statement as these are the 4 indicators which are mentioned in the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision Framework for domestic systematically important banks. So, this statement is correct. The last statement says interconnectedness will be given a weight of 40% and other indicators will be given a weight of 20% each. It is again an incorrect statement as it is the size which will be given a weight of 40% and other indicators which are interconnectedness, substitutability, complexity will be given 20% each. So this statement again becomes incorrect and the answer to this question becomes B, which is 2 only. Now the learning from this question is whenever you come across any figures, data or a factual statement, you must be careful that there might be some trap in that particular statement. In this question, the 2 statements were having data and both of them were incorrect. Try to keep this thing in your mind while solving the MCQs. And the answer to the previous year question is A, which is 1 only. as the first statement is the definition of capital adequacy ratio, and the second statement which says capital adequacy ratio is decided by each individual bank. It is not by individual banks but decided by the Central Bank of India, which is RBI. So the answer to this question becomes A. The last question of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 12 in Indian Express. It basically talks about the stolen treasure of India, which includes the artifacts like Kohinoor, which was stolen during the colonial times. And to protect its historical artifacts, the government has signed agreements with museums in United Kingdoms, United States, and Australia to repatriate Indian antiquities. The ancient art forms, crafts, literature plays important role in Indian culture, which makes it more diverse and rich. So we must have some idea about the antiquities which are included in the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. As you can see in the year 2020, UPSC has asked a question on inscription. It gives us an idea. The historical artifacts, inscriptions, literature forms are important for our UPSC Prelims exam. In this question, you need to identify who among the following rulers advised his subjects through this inscription. The practice MCQ which we have designed says that consider the following. The first one is coin, second is sculpture, third is painting, fourth is epigraph, fifth is object illustrating science, and sixth one is any article showing politics in ancient India. And the question says which of the antiquities given above are included in the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. Now to solve this question, you must be aware what antiquity is. Now as per the Antiquities Act of 1972, it defines an antiquity as any coin, sculpture, painting, epigraph, any article, object, or thing detached from a building or cave, or any article and object of historical interest that has been in existence for not less than 100 years. These all includes the antiquities. And for manuscript, which is of scientific and aesthetic value, the duration is not less than 75 years. Now as we have discussed, what accounts for antiquity? The answer to this question becomes D, as all of these are included in the Antiquities and Arts Treasurer Act of 1972. Keep a tab on such news articles, as UPSC has a habit of picking up the themes from newspapers which are related to any historical event. So the answer to this question is D. And the answer for the previous year question is A, as Ashok was the ruler who advised his subjects through the inscriptions, and this inscription is related to Ashok. Hence the answer becomes A. So that's all for today's discussion. Thank you for watching today's DPP. Stay tuned for upcoming sessions which will enhance your preparation for UPSC Prelims exam, which is going to be held on 28th May 2023. And one more thing which we want to highlight, that how to use Daily Prelims Practice initiative for your UPSC Prelims exam preparation. This initiative gives you an idea how to read the news articles, which area needs to be focused, and how to solve the MCQs in real-time environment. We hope that you will benefit from this particular initiative.